I have loved Olympic weightlifting ever since I was in the 7th grade. My love for the sport started when I went to my brother's first ever weightlifting meet. It was amazing to see the immense amount of weight being thrown through the air above one's head. I'd never seen anything like it before. From the instant I saw my brother compete, I knew that Olympic weightlifting was something I was going to love for years to come. Olympic weightlifting is becoming a very popular sport in the U.S. Today I'm going to explain the complex sport of Olympic weightlifting, how it all started and evolved over time, as well as why its popularity is growing so much in the U.S. I will start by diving into what Olympic weightlifting actually is. Next, I will explain the lengthy history of the sport, and finally, I'll wrap up with why Olympic weightlifting is sweeping the U.S. In order to see why Olympic weightlifting is becoming a more popular sport, I'll first explain what Olympic weightlifting truly is. From personal knowledge, as well from the source Catalyst Athletics, Olympic weightlifting consists of 2 lifts. The first is snatch. In this lift, the weightlifter lifts the bar from the ground to overhead in one motion. The second lift is the clean and jerk. This lift is done in 2 motions. First from the ground to the shoulders, and then from the shoulders to overhead. In the clean and jerk, you can usually do more weight than in the snatch. In a competition, each lifter gets 3 attempts at each lift. The first lift is snatch, and once all 3 lifts, and the top 3 lifters from each weight class with the highest combined weight are the place winners. Now that you are familiar with how Olympic weightlifting works, let's move on to the lengthy history of this iconic sport. I paraphrase the following from physicalculturestudy.com. The first ever weightlifting aspect in the Olympics was featured in 1896 at the Athens Games. At the Athens Games, the weightlifting component did not go over very well. There were no weight classes, and each lifter had to complete a one-handed and two-handed lift. To make matters even weirder, judges would add on or take away points based on the style of how each lift was completed. No weightlifting event was held at the 1900 Olympic Games, but they were at the 1904 Games in St. Louis. The weightlifting aspect of the 1904 Games was no way any better. There were still no weight classes, and each lifter had to do 10 lifts, varying from one-handed to two-handed lifts. Olympic weightlifting would not be featured in any Olympic Games until 1920. In 1920, they finally introduced weight classes, and the lifts became more organized. The lifts included a one- and two-handed snatch, cleans, and presses. In the 1928 Games in Amsterdam, the lifts were molded once again into 3 distinct lifts. They went away from one-handed lifts and only focused on the snatch, clean and jerk, and the clean and press. These lifts would remain until 1972, when criticism regarding the safety of the clean and press resulted in the lift being removed entirely. Ever since the 1972 Munich Games, only snatch and clean and jerk have been the required lifts. Women were first able to compete in Olympic weightlifting at the 2000 Games in Sydney. Over the years, Olympic weightlifting has remained dominant in the Eastern countries. Over history, Olympic weightlifting has been a dominant sport for many Eastern countries, but America is finally starting to make its footprint in this iconic sport. There was a lot of skepticism regarding Olympic weightlifting in the U.S. Many believed that the lifts were harmful to your body and not good on your joints. Over the years, these myths have been debunked, and the popularity of the sport has been rising. According to WSJ.com, on the Olympic level, no American has won an Olympic medal in weightlifting since the 1984 Olympics, but this was only due to the Soviet Union not being present. Now, you may be wondering, how will the U.S. ever be able to win an Olympic weightlifting medal? Well, like I said, the sport is on the rise in the U.S. One main reason why weightlifting is not a big sport in the U.S. is due to the popularity of other sports such as football, baseball, basketball, etc. These powerhouse sports are what is hindering the growth of Olympic weightlifting. I personally have had the honor of being next to a lifter from Moorhead who actually won the Youth Nationals just a few weeks ago. So today you learned all about Olympic weightlifting, all from the lifts performed in the sport to the history as well as its growing popularity in the United States. Olympic weightlifting is becoming a lot more popular in the U.S. Today I discussed the background of Olympic weightlifting, the history behind the sport, as well as its growing popularity in the U.S. Olympic weightlifting is a sport that I have loved from the first time I saw it. There's no greater rush than successfully lifting over 200 pounds above your head in only a few quick movements. It is so unique and there's nothing else like it in the world.